What if I told you Diddy's $50 million bail isn't about freedom at all, but about protecting secret tapes that could bring down some of the most powerful names in music, Hollywood, and even politics? Stay tuned, because this story is way bigger than Diddy. Sean Diddy Combs is once again making a push for freedom before his sentencing date arrives. Currently held at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, he's expected to learn his official punishment in October, not long after the jury's verdict. His attorneys attempted to secure his release with a $1 million bail proposal, but the judge immediately shut it down. Now, they're coming back with a much bigger offer, a staggering $50 million package, designed to convince the court he shouldn't remain behind bars. The legal spotlight is now fixed on whether this new request will sway the judge. Diddy's defense team argues that he doesn't deserve pre-sentencing jail time because the crimes he was convicted of were not physically violent. He was found guilty on 2 counts under the Mann Act, a law that prohibits transporting people across state lines for unlawful purposes. While the statute is technically classified under violent offenses for bail considerations, his lawyers emphasize that no direct acts of violence were involved in his case. Still, the court faces a dilemma. Allowing Combs out on bond could carry serious risks, particularly for the witnesses who testified against him. That potential fallout may explain why judges have consistently resisted granting his release. Despite the extraordinary sums of money being placed on the table,
does say next time. So he probably let Diddy get away with it to see how far he was going to do it. But then he said, nah, we're not having this. Because you got to realize the jury is not sequestered. They go home every day. And he's known for tampering with witnesses. If you go through the trial right today, you see how he was trying to tamper with some of the people by having security, D-Rock, and other people talk to them. They are saying that in their testimony. So the judge is very aware of the fact, by hearing the testimony of some of the witnesses, that he was trying to tamper with the...
During the trial, prosecutors did bring forward testimony alleging that Diddy acted aggressively toward both Cassie and another woman identified only as Jane. However, the jury ultimately did not convict him on those claims, finding him not guilty of any direct assault charges. Some critics have pointed to a 2016 hotel surveillance video as evidence of misconduct. But because no case was filed in California at the time, the statute of limitations had already run out, meaning it couldn't be used to secure a conviction. Now, Diddy's attorneys insist that he shouldn't be punished or held on the basis of accusations the jury rejected. Prosecutors, on the other hand, maintain that testimony and past incidents paint a troubling enough picture to justify concerns about what might happen if he's released. This divide is central to why the judge views his bail request with such caution. Adding to the tension, Jaguar Wright has publicly urged people to remain wary, suggesting that Diddy has relied heavily on damage control strategies since the beginning of the case.
He does have a plan to try to derail the information, derail the chain of evidence, derail history as it actually happened. And he is the kind of guy that has no problem with re-victimizing people all over again. Let's just keep it a buck. These girls showed up at a very opportune time, did they not? Adria and Lamisha Fuller. Very opportune time. I do Pierce Morgan. The elites go insane. Ariel Mitchell Kidd drops Adria English as a client after she got drunk and talked with Tasha K, which was bad in itself, if you ask me. I go on Pierce Morgan and say, I have 3 witnesses that are ready to come forward against the Carters. I didn't say against Diddy, I said against the Carters. And then there was the fake C&D, which was nothing more than a phone call from the lawyer Alex Spiro, who tanked the Rock Nation offering so Dame Dash couldn't make any real.
Jaguar Wright went on to emphasize the far-reaching weight of Diddy's conviction, warning that the consequences extend well beyond a single courtroom verdict. For her, this wasn't just about one man facing legal accountability, was about the ripple effect his downfall could trigger throughout the entertainment industry. She noted that other voices, such as Albu, have also spoken out against him, and every new allegation adds to the mounting storm around the once untouchable mogul. Together, those accusations have not only shredded his carefully cultivated image, but also inflicted serious financial damage, with brands, business partners, and even former allies distancing themselves at a rapid pace. The reality is that Diddy's empire has always been built on more than music. From record labels and fashion lines to liquor deals and real estate, he constructed a brand that symbolized wealth, influence, and cultural dominance. That empire thrived because it projected an image of success and credibility. But as Jaguar pointed out, once cracks began to appear in that image, the damage snowballed. When allegations and legal troubles became public, sponsors and corporate partners who had once seen Diddy as a safe investment suddenly began to reconsider. In an industry where reputation is currency, losing credibility can be far more devastating than a prison sentence. Jaguar's warnings highlight this uncomfortable truth. Diddy's conviction could serve as a cautionary tale for other powerful figures in the entertainment world. The culture of silence that often surrounds celebrity misconduct is already beginning to unravel, and his case may speed up that process. For decades, Diddy represented a type of untouchable figure in hip-hop and pop culture, someone who seemed too powerful, too well-connected, and too profitable to be held accountable. But now that the courts have delivered a conviction, even if not on the most sensational charges, the precedent has been set. It shows that money and influence can slow justice, but they cannot stop it entirely. From a financial perspective, the fallout is staggering. Diddy's portfolio, once worth hundreds of millions, is under siege. Liquor companies like Diageo have already sought distance, and other ventures face uncertainty as investors calculate the risks of being associated with him beyond formal business ties. Diddy's very name, once synonymous with luxury parties and global influences, become a liability. For a man whose success depended on being a symbol of aspiration, the reputational collapse could prove more crushing than any prison term. Jaguar underscored this point. Reputations take decades to build but can be destroyed in weeks. And Diddy is living proof. Jaguar also spoke about the cultural and social dimensions of the case. She stressed that Diddy's fall is not just a personal downfall, it reflects a broader reckoning within the music industry. For years, whispers about abuse, control, and exploitation surrounded him, but they rarely made it to mainstream headlines. Survivors and critics often faced intimidation or discrediting campaigns. Now, with a conviction on the books and testimonies preserved in court records, the narrative can't simply be swept under the rug. This shift could embolden others who have been silenced, potentially opening the floodgates for new stories and claims. Her comments also shine light on the power dynamics at play. Diddy wasn't just a successful artist, he was a gatekeeper, someone who could make or break careers. That gave him influence not only over business but also over individuals, whose livelihoods depended on staying in his good graces. Jaguar has long argued that this imbalance of power created an environment where abuse could thrive unchecked. With his conviction, however, that power is eroding. People who once remained silent out of fear are beginning to speak, and the industry, at large, is being forced to confront uncomfortable questions about complicity. Financially, the ripple effect spreads far wider than just his own fortune. Companies, collaborators, and even entire sub-industries built around his influence are experiencing shockwaves. Diddy was a central figure in branding hip-hop as a global cultural product, helping connect the worlds of music, fashion, alcohol, and lifestyle. When someone at that level collapses, it disrupts networks of deals, endorsements, and cultural capital. Jaguar's point was clear. The damage won't stop with him. His fall could destabilize or at least reshape entire business ecosystems that leaned heavily on his image of success. Another layer to consider, which Jaguar hinted at, is how the public responds to celebrity accountability. For years, fans often excused or ignored troubling allegations against powerful figures, prioritizing music and entertainment over justice. But Diddy's conviction may mark a turning point. Younger audiences, particularly those active on social media, are increasingly vocal about demanding accountability, even from icons. The old formula, throwing money at problems and rebranding controversies as haters talking, no longer works in the same way. This cultural shift means that Diddy's strategies for damage control, effective in the past, may no longer shield him from long-term consequences. Jaguar also highlighted the symbolic weight of this case for survivors of abuse. For many, watching a high-profile figure like Diddy face legal repercussions is both validating and empowering. It suggests that no one is entirely beyond reach, regardless of their fame or fortune. At the same time, she warned against assuming that this marks the end of systemic problems. As she pointed out, the entertainment industry is full of powerful figures with secrets and leverage, and Diddy's case may only be the tip of the iceberg. Perhaps one of the most thought-provoking parts of Jaguar's perspective is her suggestion that Diddy's downfall may encourage other high-profile figures to re-examine their own conduct. If someone with his level of wealth and connections can face conviction, others may worry that their actions could come under scrutiny too. This could lead to a quiet reshaping of the industry, where certain behaviors that were once ignored or excused are no longer tolerated. In this way, Diddy's conviction could have a cultural impact far beyond the details of the charges themselves. Ultimately, Jaguar's comments underline a key reality. Diddy's conviction is not an isolated story of one man's mistakes. It's a lens through which we can examine power, privilege, money, and accountability in the entertainment industry. His financial losses, reputational collapse, and legal troubles are only part of the story. The real weight lies in the questions. His case forces us to ask, how much power should we give to celebrities? What systems allow abuse to go unchecked for so long? And what does true accountability look like in a culture where fame often shields wrongdoing? By framing the case this way, Jaguar transformed a celebrity scandal into a broader conversation about justice and responsibility. And as more voices like Albu's add fuel to the fire, it's becoming increasingly clear that Diddy's conviction will echo far beyond the courtroom walls, reshaping not only his legacy but also the industry he helped define.
Oh, Diddy!
I'll be sure is somebody that at the time when you were doing your run back in 2024, you were waiting to hear from him. You knew he was going to say something. He finally waited to do the Diddy documentary to finally speak. And I think TMZ put out, or I forgot who put it out, but there was a documentary kind of put out on the downfall of Diddy. And I'll be sure was part of that, speaking his story. For you to see him, because again, he was very calculated on who he spoke with, whether it's real life or whoever it was. He was calculated as far as who he was going to speak with, but he ended up finally speaking and then going on the documentary. What credit do you give him for coming out and at least starting the conversation?
What do you mean? What credit?
Yes.
All credit.
There you go.
One of the best moments for me was seeing that documentary and watching how the footage that they took from this blue couch lined up perfectly with everything he had to say. Why did that not hit?
I don't
hit different?
Right.
I'm just
and you said it on your platform too, like, why aren't, as we're closing in on this trial, why isn't there more?
How didn't that hit different?
Right.
Because as much as I love, I'll be sure, much as I love Mr. Albert Brown Sr., father, grandfather, amazing artist, incredible writer, wonderful entrepreneur, and radio personality. It's so funny when I talk about all of the things that my friend, I'll be sure, is. It's funny, everyone forgets that he did all of these things. Like, it's sad that not until that documentary, people weren't even acknowledging that he was an original investor, owner in Uptown Records that got demolished. So bad boy. But for me to be able to say the same things that he was saying, and we haven't even been in each other's presence, how did that hit different?
There you go.
It's like they just don't want to accept the truth. Angie passes away.
Yeah, that right there.
Al said something. I said something. We were attacked immediately.
Right.
Why? You want to know what else I find funny? We got attacked for speaking about the truth. But all of those other entertainers, ain't none of them say nothing. Especially the females who were mentored and influenced by Angie Stone, no different than me. Not as much. I was truly influenced by Betty Wright, but then again, Angie Stone was influenced by her, so I guess it's all the same.
Bail laws leave little room for flexibility, and Diddy's team faces a steep climb. To walk free before sentencing, he must prove two things: that he's not a flight risk, and that he won't repeat the kind of behavior tied to his conviction. His attorneys insist he has no intention of running. He's willing to surrender his passport, wear an ankle monitor, and put $50 million on the line as collateral. Walking away from that, they argue, would be unthinkable. But the tougher hurdle is convincing the court that he poses no ongoing threat. That's where the past looms large. Prosecutors highlight a pattern of troubling behavior, and critics like Jaguar Wright have been pointing to those patterns for years, long before this case even reached trial.
A search warrant for a residence is not for a body. If they had one for a body, they would have brought it in. Now, if they would have went there and they found guns, drugs, and Diddy was there, they would have brought him in. You know what I'm saying? They would have brought him in. Like they brought his sons in. And then they want to know, well, why are these unlicensed guns in the house? Who drugs do these belong to? All those things like that. But a lot of people probably believe that, they just want to know, and the government want to know what things those people were doing on those tapes and who was doing shit on those tapes. Because I heard they found like 250 cameras or something like that.
That's what they say. They said they found a lot of cameras.
Right.
There's a lot of rumors about him recording some of these parties, and he's using a lot of this stuff for blackmail, like a lot of celebrities, even as far as politicians. I think even Little Rod said that Diddy had every room taped and bugged.
Right. Well, in his affidavit or his deposition that he gave to the courts, he said every room was bugged, and that he did have tapes and information on a lot of different celebrities and people in the music business, people that were in politicians, and like I said, in other platforms, people that was in the ministry. Allegedly.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, if the feds got their hands on these tapes, you could very well see like a domino effect of shit coming down on everybody.
It depends on what's on the tapes. You know what I'm saying? If it has anything, see, what people don't understand is this, is that having sex is not a crime, but having sex with underage.
The judge has also pointed out a striking detail, even Diddy's own defense team acknowledged during the trial, that if the case had centered solely on domestic violence, the 2016 hotel video would likely have been enough to convict him. That admission now hangs over his bail request, making it harder for the court to justify releasing him. Adding to the complications, speculation continues to swirl in the entertainment world. Many believe that powerful figures in the industry would prefer to see Diddy remain behind bars, fearing the potential fallout if he were free and able to leverage the blackmail material he is rumored to hold.
This case had nothing to do with really putting Puff in jail, because those people are educated enough to know they could have won that case by other charges and they didn't even go for it. They didn't even go for it. That gun charge was locked, sealed, and they didn't even go for it. Why? It was about them going in there, getting those tapes. I think the prosecutor name was Damian Williams. He was sent there and put that because somebody told him in high places. Puff may be the Black Jeff Epstein. He got all the tapes of some people that are friends of ours. They found out that he had those tapes of them. Y'all go get them. Why is the southern state of New York going all the way over in California and down in Miami when they have their own divisions? Why? People ain't thinking about that. They went down there because some people told them, yo, y'all go down there and y'all go get these tapes from this dude. Because we know he got them. And he got them stored in one of these houses. They go in there, they do a raid. Bruh. They brought out they said close to 900 some bottles of baby oil. I know this for a fact. When you do a raid, you do what they call a field test on any substance you bring out that house. You do a field test on any substance that you bring out that house. They not bringing 900 bottles of baby oil out that shit.
Another pressing question is whether Diddy's fight for bail even makes practical sense. If his eventual sentence falls in the range of 1 to 2 years, the months he has already spent in custody will count toward that time. In that case, he could be looking at only a short stretch left behind bars. Winning release now, only to return in a matter of months, may offer a little real benefit. The case also highlights a bigger issue: privilege in the justice system. Many observers argue that if Diddy weren't wealthy and well-connected, he wouldn't even have the chance to push for bail at this stage. For everyday defendants facing similar charges, the door rarely opens this wide. Meanwhile, those who came forward with accusations hope the court doesn't lose sight of their voices in the face of Diddy's enormous resources. It's also important to note that, despite years of investigation and extensive effort by federal authorities, the trial didn't unfold exactly as prosecutors had envisioned. They brought forward over 30 witnesses, while Diddy's defense team called none, yet the jury still cleared him of the most serious allegations. That outcome has sparked debate. Gene Deal, a longtime industry insider, has even floated a theory that the government's real interest wasn't convicting Diddy at all but uncovering the infamous tapes he is rumored to possess.
Both was victims, but the jury and probably was looking for more women that was victimized in the thing. And then if they would have brought in more women, and there was more women out there. I talked to a couple of women myself. And I was like, even the women who did the civil suits, the prosecution didn't want to bring them in because they were doing civil suits. And they knew that the defense would get on them and try to make it a shamble about, oh, it's about money. But still in all, when he go to jail, watch how many women and how many people come forward on their civil claims. You're gonna have a lot of men come forward too. Watch and see. Our people got a strange way, and they pick and choose who they should be loyal to. And it's strange, bruh. How they celebrating this demon, bruh. They celebrating this demon Do you understand that? The RICO law, you understand? The racketeering, criminal enterprise, and corruption, all this other bullshit like that. It was hard for the jury to take that in because when they hear about RICO law, they hear about racketeering, they think about the mafia. They think about the mafia. So they couldn't come to grips with that. And that's okay. But I know this for a fact. He ain't getting no time served. He ain't getting no less than 5 years. He's gonna get the mandatory minimum or he gonna get more. He's gonna get the mandatory minimum or he's gonna get more. Point blank. So all you people that's celebrating and wanna know how Gene Deal feel, I'm off.
Prosecutors have pushed back hard against Diddy's latest effort to undo his conviction. In a late-night filing submitted nearly 3 weeks after the verdict, they argued that his request for either an acquittal or a new trial has no legal ground to stand on. Their stance is straightforward. The jury's decision remains valid, and the case should move forward to sentencing, scheduled for October 3rd.
It's God's plan. And what y'all don't understand, y'all celebrate thinking that it can't happen in jail. They might put him in a couple of places before he make it over there to Madoc, R. Kelly, rest of the criminals that's have easygoing spots and stuff like that. But it still can happen there. Somebody get mad. Somebody got a relative or something like that he did something to that we don't know about. And they run into him. And they hit him with his own words. Take that, take that. Then what y'all gonna say? I ain't worrying about it, Mighty. This is funny to me, man. This is real funny that the prosecution spent all that money, all that time, and all that resources when they had legitimate charges that they could have put on him other than the RICO, other than the racketeering. That gun charge is mandatory. So now you got to realize this. A lot of people gonna bring up cases to the federal government. This becomes case law now.
Prosecutors did secure a major victory with the Mon Act convictions, leaning on testimony and supporting evidence to strengthen their case. One of the most talked about moments of the trial came when the jury was shown a 2016 hotel hallway video from Los Angeles. In the clip, Diddy appears with R&B singer Cassie, whose real name is Cassandra Ventura. Cassie herself also took the stand, telling jurors that Diddy became enraged when she tried to leave one of the so-called freak-off gatherings. For prosecutors, that moment was critical. It allowed them to argue that Diddy's conduct went beyond lavish parties and reflected a deeper pattern of control and aggression. Even though the jury cleared him of the trafficking charges, the two Mon Act convictions still carry real weight. Prosecutors have emphasized that these aren't minor technicalities. They raise serious federal offenses that deserve real punishment, even if they don't make headlines the way trafficking does. With sentencing already set, the lingering question is how much time the judge will ultimately hand down. Outside the courtroom, speculation continues to swirl. Some point out that prison itself may not shield Diddy entirely. Conflicts behind bars have a way of finding their targets. Others focus on the bigger picture, questioning why prosecutors spent years and enormous resources only to secure narrower convictions, while sidestepping charges like racketeering or weapons possession that might have been easier to prove. Critics argue that the government may have had a different motive altogether. Industry insider Gene Deal has gone even further, suggesting that the real objective wasn't Diddy himself, but the alleged tapes he's said to have kept over the years. According to Deal, Diddy was notorious for recording everything and everyone at his parties, including powerful executives, celebrities, and politicians. The theory is that these tapes, if they exist, could implicate far bigger names than Diddy, giving federal authorities an incentive to dig deeper. For now, Diddy remains behind bars as his legal team fights to minimize his sentence, while prosecutors push for several years. Both sides have dug in, but ultimately, the decision lies with the judge this fall. Whether the trial ends with just Diddy's punishment, or whether it opens doors to expose bigger players in the industry remains an open question.